Pushkin.
From BBC Studios and Pushkin Industries, this is Big Lives. I'm Emmanuel Dzotsi.
I'm Wright.
And on this show, what we do is we take a single cultural icon and we break down their legacy with the help of the treasure trove that is the BBC archive. And today, Kai, I have a treat for you, which is we have a guest with us. And our guest today is the one and only Dzotsi Cole. She's a writer at Slate. She's the host of the podcast Scamfluencers. She's the author of 2 books, including her latest, Sucker Punch. And I got to start this off by also saying she is my favorite person to argue with and is consistently mean to me on a daily basis. She's the only person I let be mean to me on a daily basis. Hi, Dzotsi.
What is it about? He's weak. What do you mean? He's like, this person's my favorite person to argue with. Anybody could do that. Anybody could be mean to him. The breeze goes by the wrong way. His feelings are hurt. What am I supposed to do?
Anyway, all of this is to say that she's one of my best friends.
Oh, man. Come on, dog. Get some new friends. That sucks.
It's the truth. I am who I am. Anyways, you are on this show embarrassing me in front of all these listeners because, Dzotsi, you wrote to me recently about somebody you wanted to dive into with us.
I did. I have a lot of affection for what I call publicly horny women.
Publicly horny women, okay.
Yes, as one myself, obviously. And a horny woman I've been thinking a lot about in terms of past and present has been Madonna. You know, she's coming back pretty soon. She's got another album that's like a sequel to a record that came out, I think 25 years ago.
21 years ago.
21 years ago? Jesus Christ, I'm so old. I am taking to the sea as soon as this is over. But that record is so interesting. The resurgence of her is so interesting as kind of this sexy older lady, this powerful person, this cultural behemoth. It was making me think a lot about Madonna in the 80s and 90s. I grew up watching VH1 documentaries, and all of them were about the sex panic around Madonna and that Toronto concert she had where the police almost came and arrested her because she was too horny for stage, which badge of honor as a Canadian, again, doesn't take much to be too horny in Toronto in public. But it's so interesting to think about how the agita around her and her sexual politics, what it looked like in the 80s and 90s, what it looked like sort of before the proliferation of the internet, and what it looks like now and how it's changed between now in her 60s and, back then when she was in her 30s and 40s. So I've been thinking about this so much. I feel like I see this undulation of how we treat women and how we treat their sexuality all the time, that we're really mad at them about it and then we're totally cool with it and we think it's great and, oh my God, she's mother. And it goes back and forth. I wish we could get ahead of it, but we as a society are too stupid, so we can't. But I do love playing a game of hindsight, so that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay, amazing. Well, okay, Madonna, amazing singer, icon, otherwise known as the Queen of Pop, the best-selling female artist of all time. Kai, you've been chuckling and laughing along as Sachi's been talking about this. What is your relationship to Madonna?
Oh, goodness. I can only think about her in eras of my own life.
Okay.
And she's had many eras and I have had many eras. There's the I'm a little boy in the 80s when she's emerging and she is, uncomfortably sexual for the 80s when I'm and then there's high school when the whole Like a Prayer period where she becomes obsessed with Black people and Latinos and there was that era for me. And then Confessions is, the reason why I know when it came out, that run of albums she had from the late 90s to the early aughts, I was a gay man in my 20s. This was, this is the soundtrack of that era, And so it's stages of my life. I can't separate Madonna from stages of my life.
I love it. Well, okay. My relationship to her was literally just oh, I really liked her music playing in my mom's car. And she was occasionally in the news as a kid. Like, I don't really have a bigger one beyond that, except like stuff that I've learned as an adult. But I have to say, like, when you wrote to me, Sachi, and you told me about her being too horny for Toronto, I went back to that moment. I went back through a bunch of the archive. And the thing that stuck out to me as someone who didn't know that much about this particular period of Madonna's life is just, like you said, Kai, this is a person who seems to just be like, grasping at and also diving headfirst into as many different culture wars as possible in a very short space of time.
Yeah, and to different, like, varying degrees of success, frankly. Like, some of them are completely absurd and still don't land right. And then other times you're like, well, you know why everybody was wearing Kabbalah bracelets? It was that one lady. And I'll tell you, as a Hindu in junior high, seeing everybody show up to school with red thread on their wrist one day, I was like, what the hell has happened today? Like,
Madonna has happened today.
Madonna has happened today.
Oh, well, the thing we're going to focus on today is her particular brand of sexuality. And the choices she's making are just like this perfect combination of things that her critics are just so perfectly ill-equipped to respond to. And we're going to get into all of that after the break. Welcome back to Big Lives. Today, we are talking about Madonna, and we're joined as well by our guest, Sachi Cole.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Okay, so before we get to talking about like the height of Madonna's controversy, I just want to talk about where she's arriving from at that moment. Like, because I do think where she's come from is like particularly important. Just in case for people who don't know, like Madonna, she's known by that singular name, but her full birth name is Madonna Louise Ciccone. She's from Michigan, from Bay City. She got raised in the Detroit suburbs. Her mum died of breast cancer when she was just 5. And so she grows up basically parented by her dad, and her dad is quite a character. But I think the one thing that I think you need to know about Madonna that I think is really interesting to me about where we're going is that she grew up pretty religious. And I'm just going to play this clip of her talking about her childhood in a BBC interview that she did in 1986.
I went to Catholic schools for most of my life. My father was a real disciplinarian, very strict. And, you know, it was get up every morning, go to church before you go to school, and wear a uniform. And when we got home from school, we changed our clothes, we did our chores, we did our homework, we ate dinner, we weren't allowed to watch television. And it was a very kind of regimented life until we got older. You know, my father was very much into working. You know, he didn't like us to have idle time. If we didn't have schoolwork to do, then he found work for us to do around the house. He thought that we should always be productive and make good use of our time. He was very adamant about that. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
I think I've talked about this in the show before, but maybe I'm not. I am also a Catholic.
Oh, we know, man.
We have covered this.
Yeah.
And I relate to a lot of what she said there because there is a culture in Catholicism which is just adherence to strict protocol and, most importantly, guilt about not following that protocol all the time.
It is the first thing I remember about her. I mean, you know, because and it's so profound and so pointed. Like, I mean, I'm talking about I was an elementary school kid. I was elementary school and junior high, so it's not like I had some sophisticated understanding of the world. But you couldn't exist in the 80s and not know that Madonna was like in an argument with Catholicism. You know, that she was like the good Catholic girl who refused to be the good Catholic girl, like in public. That was her whole thing. It was actually uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable in what way?
Just like because you knew it was wrong, right? Like there was a sense of like if as a kid you're like, oh wow, she's really violating the rules in public, you know? Like her song "Like a Virgin," it just felt like it felt lewd. To your point, Sashi, like she felt lewd as a little boy.
Maybe I'm telling on myself and my particular upbringing, but Madonna was my entry point into Catholicism.
Wait, really?
As a kid. I didn't know what it was until I started seeing her. I mean, my brother had her record. I grew up in a very Christian area and a really white area, but we didn't have a lot of Catholics. And so I did not really fully understand the difference. You know, I was born in the early 90s, so she was already kind of on the scene by the time I was conscious. all I remember was like, what is this sick ass religion? They have the best aesthetic and like you just get to be mad all the time. Why don't I have that? But like her art is inherently tied to that guilt and to that refusal to play by these puritanical rules, these sexual rules, these body rules, these female rules. But also she wore really great outfits and really figured out what to do with the jewelry. And I still remember going to my mom and being like, can I have one of those necklaces that's like a cross? And her being like, what?
like a straight crucifix?
Yeah, like, because she had one.
It was part of Madonna's thing.
It was part of her thing. She had like a bedazzled corset and bra, cone bra, and then have a giant crucifix necklace. And I was like, that's a sick piece of jewelry. There's nothing wrong with me wearing that, right?
And you got to remember, this is like, she's emerging in those first albums in the 80s alongside MTV.
Right.
And so music video, like I'm interacting with her and most of the world's interacting with her visually. It's not just the music, it is what she looks like. And she does not look appropriate for a young Catholic woman.
100%. And I want to talk about MTV Movie Awards. So in 1984, at this point, Madonna's already had like her first debut album. That debut album is basically considered like one of the greatest debut albums of all time. It's sort of eponymous, like it's just named Madonna. It has like a bunch of hits in it, Borderline, Lucky Star, Holiday. In 84, she's getting ready to launch like what will be her second album, like Virgin. And she's trying to avoid basically like the typical artist sophomore like slump, basically. And so what she does is goes on TV for what will be the first ever MTV Video Music Awards. And this performance that she does, it's incredible. Right. And I just want to take a moment to talk about this. Imagine you're at home watching TV, and maybe you don't have to imagine. Maybe you were watching it. I don't know.
I'm remembering this. Go.
She emerges on stage like atop a giant wedding cake in like this wedding gown. She like descends onto the stage, and this whole performance is weird because you can tell like the crowd does not know what to do with anything that it's watching. And she sings like a virgin. But what's interesting about it, she's basically making love to the ground while singing this song.
That's so British. That's so British. Making love to the ground. Oh my God.
Here we go.
I'm trying, man.
She's going to come for you, Emmanuel.
Don't call it that.
What do you want me to say?
Any other confluence of words.
She is humping the ground.
Thank you. We're adults.
Okay, whatever.
Fox Newsification of Madonna's sexual acts on MTV. God, you are Catholic.
Yes. She is humping the ground, and basically at the end of the song, she more or less climaxes and rolls over like she's just finished coming. And like the audience does this weird thing where they're like sort of clap, but don't clap. And then they're like, and they say, good job, you know? And then people are like, oh, okay, it's the end of the show and it moves on. And I just want to talk about this particular moment in the context within which this is happening, right? This is 1984, and this is kind of like peak Reagan's America, whose presidency in this country has really ushered in the rise of religious right. Like, to become president in 1980, Reagan, like, really tries to pander to those sorts of Christians.
I think of Reagan as along for the ride on this moment, right? Like, the evangelical right is born in the wake of Jimmy Carter because they feel betrayed by Jimmy Carter. And alongside the evangelical right's birth is, and this is what's relevant to Madonna, is a very specific effort to start to reverse the advancements of feminist politics of the 70s. So it's Roe v. Wade, but it's the beginning of the culture war around certain kinds of people need to go back into private space. And certain, like, gay men, enough with y'all with this, you know, we're not going to talk about AIDS, and these women need to, like, get back in their space. And along comes this young woman who is, as Sachi has described, is walking around in, you know, these outfits, is, you know, fucking the stage at the MTV Music Awards. I won't be polite about it.
Thank God.
And who is like deliberately provoking people around religious iconography and her sexuality. They hated her. It really was. She was my first memory of culture wars is it meant something what you thought about Madonna. She was the embodiment of like where you stood on what kind of society we were supposed to have.
It's such a rejection of like the politics of the 60s and 70s. But what's interesting to me is like listening back to it, the way in which these religious right figures are talking about it. Obviously, they don't say all of that as explicitly as you do, right? They say things that now just sound kind of wild, like, or just petty, where they're just like, well, she's not dressing this way and she's not dancing this way like previous people who have dressed and danced this way, right? Even though we're coming out of the 70s. They're saying she's dancing this way, she's dressing this way, not for entertainment or not because it's artsy, but to deliberately make us horny, and we don't want to be horny. Is the thing that they are like really honing in on in this major way.
Yeah, fear of horniness, fear of joy. It's like she transformed everybody into like the town in Footloose. Like no dancing, the devil will come.
And when I say, like, it seems petty and small the way that the discourse manifests itself, like, down to the way she dresses, I just want to play you a clip of her talking about some of that from an interview she did in the 80s.
I mean, the way I dressed was the way all my girlfriends dressed in New York. I mean, but that's not the way everybody in the rest of the United States dresses.
Right.
I've always dressed with a sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of sense of humor about it all, and everybody took it so seriously,
I mean, you were held up at one point almost as being the Scarlet Woman, the thing for all females to be aware of,
Yeah, or males to be aware.
Or males indeed,
wary
yeah.
of.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing, do you think?
To what? What? Well, it ended up getting lots of attention, so I suppose it's not a bad thing.
That clip makes me remember part of it was also that she was considered fake right from the beginning, which is a thing that we continue to talk about with Madonna, and some of it's true. But part of the initial sort of reaction to her was like, this isn't who you really are. You're doing this as a provocation. It's that part where she refers to her like girlfriends in New York, and she's a Catholic girl from Michigan, right? Like, which is not to say she wasn't in New York, but, like people were like, that's not who you really are. You're putting on airs just you're provoking us just for provocation's sake, was one of your first critiques of her, because people just couldn't wrap their minds around a woman who was unapologetically sexual in public.
But that's also part of it. What's wrong with provocating people for the sake of it? That's right. That's the thing I always go back to, which is like, well, what is the provocation? Being horny, that is not a real
not actually a provocation.
It's not actually a provocation. I can understand being offended by somebody who's, and this is happening a lot these days, provoking people through the auspices of race or gender, just trying to rage bait, get in a fight. She's like wearing a little skirt and singing like, Dad, don't be mad at me. Like, and that's what everybody's so mad about. It feels so mundane in a contemporary context. And then again, it asks the question, like, if you are offended by her provoking people for the sake of it, why? What are you so worried about? It seems like a lot of people felt like she was going to unlock a door for girls and we were all going to run in and, start to be sluts, and unlock another door for men and create these like broken homes across America.
Well, it's multiple doors that she's going to unlock, actually, because there's that, you have also white girls and white men, and it's like the whole of the evangelical project at that time, and the real threat of both feminist and race politics at that time was that it upended the white suburbs, right? Like the whole point of the white suburbs from the mid-century forward was to create an opportunity for young white people to be innocent. White women have always been the embodiment of innocence in that concept of whiteness. So it's also then not coincidental how race becomes part of her refusal to be the innocent white girl in the suburbs of Michigan. And that is, I argue, the real thing that people are reacting to with her is like, you're supposed to be an innocent white girl and you refuse to do it. And that challenges all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even I was thinking too, you guys are talking about like, you know, the Jerry Falwells of the world kind of using her as an icon to be afraid of. Mm-hmm. When you do that to somebody, it still elevates them. It makes them famous. It gives them a new echelon of awareness in the culture. You're never going to do that with a black girl. You're not going to do that to her because you don't actually want her to be in that position because it does create celebrity. They would only do it with someone like Madonna because she's white. And that's why later we have her ripping off every subculture because she can do it, right?
Right.
They're not actually going to go after like gay black men in the 80s as she's voguing or whatever because that elevates a group of people that they are genuinely afraid of. But they can be a little afraid of Madonna in a way that's like, but I could still like knock her over and I'm not like afraid of her in that way. And if she does explode, there's always still a chance we could get her back because she's still a white girl from Michigan.
Definitely. And you can hear it in a lot of the interviews from this time, honestly, which is like, one, they infinitize her like a ton. Like it's wild. But they're also trying to put her back into this box that you can sort of like that adhere to their archetypes of who she should be and what they think like a good white girl should be, you know? So like a common thread is like these male interviewers taking this position of like gross paternal concern. Like, oh, you're in the middle of a storm. And like, what the way they frame that storm is by asking, well, like, what do the men in your life think about this? I just want to play you an example of this. This is from a 1986 interview that she does with radio host Simon Bates.
The people like your ballet teacher, your father, who saw you change. Mm-hmm. You had this the wonderful image, because I remember the whole of Britain being stunned that America was horrified by the idea of your navel being on display at one stage. And I mean, how did they feel about that? Were they...
Who, my father?
Well, I was thinking all the people you cared about, your ballet teacher, your friends.
Well, my ballet teacher, I can honestly say, would be pleased with anything I did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a real adventurous spirit, you know. I can't say that my father had the same reaction. My father's a very modest guy, you know.
When did they first see you dressed up like that?
Probably in my record, like the publicity photos that came out with my first album, you know.
Yeah.
I never dressed that way around the house, but I left home when I was 17, you know, and I didn't go back that often.
I just want to preface this by saying that what they're talking about is literally just her showing her belly button.
Right?
Like that's
Shit on a midriff.
But what an absurd question too. Like, I don't care what your dad thinks about this. I don't really care about your dad at all. This reminds me so much of, I remember I watched this documentary about Jenna Jameson, who's a very famous porn actress in the US. And they kept asking her what her dad thought. And I'm like, what do you think he's watching it? What kind of a question is that? Like, I'm sure he's not thrilled in the same way that, like, I don't know, my dad wasn't thrilled when I became a writer. He's like, surely there are other jobs. But it's just it's so patronizing, this, like, what does daddy think? She's an adult. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, we have to stop asking women, like, what does your father think about your life? Come on. I mean, people still ask questions like that of Madonna now about her children. It never went away. First they asked it about her dad, then it was about whatever guy she was going out with. God, thank God she's not with that guy Richie anymore. I don't want to deal with that anymore. But like then it became about her kids. And now with this new album rollout, you can tell it's like, I wonder what her sons think about her.
She's 67 years old and on stage in tights.
Disgusting. Right. Like, and the idea that there's always a man who is her keeper, which there probably is, but it's a record executive whose name I don't even know.
Right.
And it's not like her 20-year-old son who's probably like, there goes mom.
Right. And I think that's particularly important because around the time of this interview I just played for you, that clip happens in 86. In 1985, Penthouse and Playboy published nude photos of Madonna that she took like years earlier, kind of before her like singing career took off, when she was an art model. They rushed to publish these photos, and you can tell the whole situation is primed basically for her to be publicly shamed and like humiliated Like, look at this femme fatale who's this big temptress and all this stuff. But, like, actually we're going to shame her and we're also going to, like, lust after her. And she handles it really masterfully. She's just kind of, like, literally, I'm not ashamed of this.
Well, I will say, I mean, her refusal to take on shame, and we've talked about this with other artists from the 80s previously on the show, just this sort of shame or lack of shame around sexuality. And she is the poster person for the 80s which I think is the onset of the culture wars. She is one of the first battlegrounds, and part of why certainly in queer communities, but in many different communities, she is mother, and is so owned, is that she was one of the first people in the culture wars to be like, you won't shame me. You can ask me about daddy all you want. Mm-hmm. Like, in fact, if you want to think you thought that was bad, I got something for you. Like she will escalate every single time. And that is part of her appeal.
I think that way of handling shame is also really, it's probably inspired a lot of other pop stars who came after her. I've been thinking a lot about Lady Gaga, who, I don't know if you remember, there were all these interviews with her when she first came out that was like, do you have a penis? Everybody thinks you have a penis.
Remember that. Oh my God.
You don't remember this? Oh,
I just erased it.
Oh yeah. So and good for you. Unfortunately, it lives forever in my brain. But there were all these there were rumors that she was like intersex effectively. Wow. And this had actually come up around Madonna too. There had been a lot of talk about like what Madonna's body looked like under the whatever limited clothing she was wearing. And when this came up with Lady Gaga, her response would always be like, well, what if I do? And like, is that so bad? What would it mean if I did? And that is such an interesting response. Instead of being like, what a foolish and crazy thing to say about me. Instead of getting defensive, she was like, well, what would be the problem?
Right.
Lady Gaga did an interview, I think in the last couple of years, saying she answered it like that on purpose. Because she's like, what if somebody was watching that interview and did and was intersex or did who was trans and felt like, well, I don't want the pop star that I love. And again, these are two icons of queer community. The pop star that I love to respond that way, I feel like you can almost see it in like in Madonna's response, which is like, why should I be so ashamed of having this body? The people that I'm speaking to like it. A lot of them have this kind of body. A lot of them are engaging in sex the way I engage in it. So why would I now balk because you think that this photo of me is lascivious?
Yeah. I'm going to do a sacrilegious thing here and skip ahead like a little bit of time past a huge album that is True Blue.
We only have so much time. If we're going to go through all of Madonna's eras and albums, we are going to be here all day.
100%. And honestly, I'm just here because I want to talk about Like a Prayer.
Please.
And Sachi, what is your relationship to Like a Prayer as a song, as a music video?
It's a good song. I liked it, and we were allowed to play it in our house. I don't think my parents really had any relationship with any of it. My brother was a big Madonna fan, weirdly enough. It's like the one, I don't know, it's like the only pop music he ever listened to. We had that, I remember seeing that Blue album all through our house. It was in the car, but we listened to it and I was like, cool. And then later I'd be like, wow, everyone's really mad about this song that means nothing to me. I don't get it. She's like talking about like horny at church. What's the problem? And I still honestly am a little perplexed.
Come on now. I mean, I'm not perplexed. I mean, it is a the whole thing is quite a provocation.
I think it is if you're steeped in it, right? But without the context, it doesn't mean as much. And so for me, it was completely stripped of context. I only have that context in my adulthood, frankly, where now I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I see that. But it's a banger. It's
a great song.
It is a banger. No, I gotta agree with you, Sachi, in the sense of I think I was 7 or 8 when I first heard this song. Yeah, I just thought it was like, and partly because there's like a gospel choir in it, I just thought it was a kind of religious song.
Yeah, me too. I think I probably did as well.
But see, here's the thing, guys. Again, you got to remember this is the height of the music video, and the song, like the way this entered the world was through the video as much as the song. And the video, if you're from Mars and somehow you've not seen the video,
Yeah, describe the video. Let's get into it.
It's almost like a grab bag of provocations, I mean, it opens with like some crime scene that is a little weird, and then Madonna is suddenly in a black church.
Okay, let's slow this down.
No, that's literally how it happened.
Yes, you're right. It opens with a crime scene.
She runs into a black church. You're not clear, why is this woman running into a black church? And I think that is relevant. Like, you're confused. And she immediately encounters a black Jesus who is like behind bars.
I used to call them like plastic saints when I was a kid, kind of figurettes that are like behind sort of bars and all behind glass in churches.
And what becomes clear over the course of the video as they start switching back and forth between that image and the image of a very attractive black man.
Played by Leon.
That's right.
I feel
Sorry.
like that's important.
That's a really important detail. Who is in jail, for some crime, and it's going back and forth. The black Jesus is supposed to represent the black man in jail. At one point, she kisses the black Jesus's feet in this like long, which of course is religious, but it's also, you're like, what am I watching? Am I watching like foot fetish or am I watching religion right now? Like, and it feels deliberately blurred. And then you do find out like that he's been wrongly convicted of like attacking a white woman. Another provocation, and it ends with her dancing in front of burning crosses.
Yeah.
Like, it is just so many images. And y'all, this is the late 1980s. Like, it is not like, I am here to tell you, like, this was so big to enter the culture at that moment. And I was 15. I remember literally being on the edge of my chair watching that when it debuted, like literally being on the edge of my seat, like, what is happening right now? It was a lot.
I rewatched it again ahead of this. Like, if she's in a culture war, she's driving to the heart of the enemy's camp.
That's
with
right.
it. Also, we should just take a second to just talk about, like, Catholics, we're weird when it comes to sex, but we're also obsessed with it. Even like our devotion to Mary, like the stories that we focus in on. So, for example, Madonna grew up Catholic. Her confirmation saint is Saint Veronica. Veronica is famous in sort of like Catholic stories for being the woman who, when Jesus is making his way to be crucified and he's carrying a cross and is being whipped, wipes his face with a towel. And the story is told in this sort of like this person who performs this act of kindness. But there is, in this weird way, like something desiring about all of these stories about women who interact with Jesus in this way, from her to Mary Magdalene and onwards, that I feel like is really captured, that Madonna plays with in that video.
Interesting. I don't know any of this.
The kissing of his feet, this idea that if you become a nun, for example, you are pledging yourself to Jesus. And it's effective enough messaging that the Vatican, like Pope John Paul II, officially condemns this video.
They have nothing better to do. This is just proof that we got to give the popes more work. If that's what you're up to, oh my God, we need, like, get a hobby. Start sweeping the steps or something. What are you talking about? So embarrassing.
Investigate real crimes happening in your church.
P.S. If y'all want to talk about sex.
Like, around this time, I think Sinead O'Connor is going to rip up a photo of the Pope on SNL.
Correct.
So, like, they have some work to do. I don't think Madonna wiggling around in a church is, like, top priority. But it is really a testament to, like, I think, like, that the Catholic Church did not have a good priority set on what they needed to focus on. This was the culture war that they decided they wanted to get into.
Exactly.
And now, I think in hindsight, it feels absurd. It feels absurd. She has survived it in so many ways, and the action that she's performing, it feels so mundane. Like, that's it? That's it? Black Jesus? That's like that's it? God, I could do worse than that in my sleep.
I guess because I lived through it. I hear you as a fact. Like, it's factually the case that this is ridiculously mundane. But I just have the emotional memory of it being really, really big.
We got to talk about the Blonde Ambition tour that comes basically immediately after this. Because all of this moment of her independence, of her pushing back in this way, sets the stage for what will be her most provocative tour yet, which is the Blonde Ambition tour in 1990. And this is kind of where we get to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this, Sachi. And this tour, it's to describe it, it is a global phenomenon that she also documents in real time. Like, she brings a film crew along for this tour for what will eventually become like this seismic documentary about her called Madonna, Truth or Dare. But
the clues in the name.
what she, yes, which is just this real expose of like her whole life at this time. She's just like, I'm just going to put it all out there in this big way. And the tour is like a big backdrop to what's happening. And a key part of this tour is this performance of Like a Virgin that she does. And how do I describe the way she performs Like a Virgin on this tour? It's like, the vibes are really Middle Eastern, but not Middle Eastern in a kind of weird, like you feel like someone's going to jump out and say Oriental or Arabian Nights or something. Like that's kind of the vibe. And she's on a bed. She's wearing like this gold corset that's like heavily structured with like conical sort of breast cups. And she's singing Like a Virgin in this sort of remixed way. And there are like these two male dancers sort of moving around her, caressing her as she's writhing on this bed singing. And at the climax of this song, right at the end of it, she simulates like she's basically masturbating like on stage. And law enforcement officials in Toronto get word that this is what she's doing as part of her show. And so there's a famous scene in this documentary where she gets word basically from a staffer that like, oh, the police in Toronto, they might arrest you if you do this. And she immediately is just like, I'm not changing my fucking show. And so she does this thing that I love, which is just before she goes out on stage. And this was a feature of that tour, you know, and it's a feature of a lot of tour since, you know, before the performance, everyone in the band or whatever gathers around in a circle and, you know, they center themselves before going out on stage. On this tour, Madonna always sets this up as a group prayer, basically. And in a typical Madonna fashion, she opens with this line, which is like, "Dear Lord, this is our last night in the fascist state of Toronto." And she concludes basically by praising the United States for protecting free speech, which is whatever. But she performs anyways. A whole thing is captured in this. And I just want to play you this clip of her talking about that in like this 94 interview she does with Terry Wogan.
I don't think there's anything in the movie that the youth of America or Europe, for that matter, are not aware of or exposed to already.
When, in parts of the film, the Toronto police want to ban you and all the rest, and the thing that's surprising about that is, it seems to me anyway, that you're quite surprised that they should want to ban you. And
well, I certainly know that some people are outraged by my behavior, but I was quite surprised to find out that I may possibly be arrested for my behavior. You know, after all, it is a performance. It's a theatrical performance, and it's not like I'm going out on the street, you know, running around without my clothes on. You know what I mean? I was shocked to know that in the context of a performance that someone would find it so offensive.
And I have to say, I was similar to Terry Wogan. I was sort of like, was she shocked? Given what she's in the middle of and what she's been going through.
But I mean, that they're going to arrest her. You know, I mean, it just feels so like we're in the 50s, you know, and this is 1990.
It feels shocking.
That is shocking. Mm-hmm. Like, that is shocking to remember. Like,
yeah. And I should say they don't actually arrest her.
Fair.
Like, that's
Fair.
Not what happens. But just the fact that they threaten is wild.
That the police have come up at all, you know.
But as a Canadian, it feels like, oh, of course. Like,
right.
we would be the ones to be like, Madonna, don't do that. But it's also funny because this is pre-smartphone. So when you're doing something on stage, it's not like it gets proliferated immediately in the culture. It takes a second. So I think it's also shocking because it's like, well, that means that she does it at the show and then a bunch of people talk about it in town and it gets back to the cops. Like, it's like a very different mechanism. But I remember I watched that documentary. That's how I know about this. And I was like totally tickled by it. It's fun. Like, it's the Streisand effect again and again with her, where like if they had just left it alone,
right.
we probably wouldn't know that much about what she did on that tour. If, you know, these like evangelicals did not run at her all the time, probably wouldn't think too much about a lot of her work. But because they're obsessed with her and remain obsessed with her, they have bolstered everything she's done.
It's funny when you say it that way, Sachi, to think about, like, I wonder if we would have been robbed of a lot of great Madonna art had they left her alone back in 1984. If they had just let, that album be an album.
Yeah. I mean, resistance is the best form of advertising. It's the best motivator to make anything. I mean, the only reason I make anything is because I'm mad. So, like, that's that they gave her a gift.
And it's at this juncture that I want to talk about a gift that Madonna gives us, which is her sex book, which was released in 1992.
The book.
The book.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I, again, having been raised by a television, I don't know where my parents were. Watch nothing but VH1 documentaries. And so the sex book was like this big thing. She'd released this coffee table book of, like, I don't know. It's I suppose pornographic photos of herself. Again, in a contemporary context, it is. I have seen worse things on NBC after 9:30, so I don't know what everybody was so upset about.
But at the time, again,
at the time, yes, at the time it was huge.
It's also like just the physicality of the book. I mean, she was by this point so clear about the relationship with the media that you're describing, Sashi, that, like, she could do things to get a reaction from them that would make the thing she was doing larger. And, like, that became almost part of performance art. Like, she was almost doing, by this point, to me, it seemed like she was engaged in performance art in the dance with conservatives' reaction to her itself was part of what she was doing. And that was kind of the context of the book, because, again, like the Like a Prayer video, it just did the most. I mean, it was a metal book. Like, like the book itself was almost kink. Like, never mind the content, like just the item itself was like, and so to buy the book, and it was expensive, as I recall, like, and so to buy the book, have the book was like a statement about where you sat in the culture war. So it's a stroke of genius in that way. I don't even know, come to think of it, if I've ever even looked at the inside of the book.
I just remember the photo of her, like, hitchhiking in that book, and everyone being like, would you believe? I'm like, that's it? Boobies? What are we doing?
Also, haven't we already done Madonna's boobies?
Haven't we done boobs as a community already, and hers in particular? Like, do you know what it actually? Do you guys remember this one?
No, actually.
Okay, this is Kim Kardashian's book that came out, almost, I think, like 10 years ago now, called Selfish, and it's just photos of herself. It's just selfies. And, like, listen, I think this is genius. It's a weird totem of a particular time, but it kind of, to me, had like a really similar response, which was sexual panic about this woman releasing photos of herself, a lot of agitation about how navel-gazing it is. Madonna taught me that word. I know what navel-gazing is because people used it so much about her that I was like, what does that even mean? But the idea that it was a problem for a woman to have the body and then photograph the body, put the body in a commodified package, and then have it available for sale for her profit. All of that was unacceptable. And I feel like this Kim Kardashian book reminded me of that, which is like, but isn't that what you came for? Like, you're mad about it now, but isn't that what we've been doing this whole time? Like, yeah, all right, girl, go sell it. I hope you sell 1 billion copies. If we're dumb enough to buy a coffee table book of photos.
The critiques of Madonna through this period are specific in a really important way, right? Like, first, she's fake. She's not a real woman. She's not doing, her refusal to be the innocent white girl in the suburbs. Like, that's not real. You're a disappointment to your family and to particularly men. And then, as you point out, we arrive at, you're just selfish. Like, you're selfish because you refuse to play your role in whiteness. You refuse to be this particular kind of white woman that you're supposed to be. And so you're just obsessed with yourself, and that's the problem with you. And I just think that journey of critique of her tells you what we're actually arguing about with Madonna.
The other thing I just want to point out is like the other thing that's happening in terms of this culture wars is that she's being literally framed in like this Madonna whore kind of complex. Because at the same time that like, you know, all of this conversation around like how sexual she is, people in interviews keep asking her about like her motherhood and her desire to be a mother. She does an interview with that journalist who we've played a little bit from, Simon Bates. And, you know, it comes up even in just like sort of kind of throwaway questions is what people sort of become obsessed with. Like he's just asking her here about like her relationship to her backup dancers, many of whom are like gay and queer men. And the whole point, as we know, is she's mother, right? Like she's taken a lot of like these queer men under her wing on tour.
Queer men of color, importantly.
Right. And he sort of asked her about it.
You talk about mothering the dancers. I may be reading too much into this. I got the impression you were very supportive
Yes.
of gays.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, and that actually was a very enveloping thing. I mean, it looked, and it's a value judgment which is risky because I've only seen the movie once. I didn't see the movie being made. I got the impression that you very much did protect them.
Yes, I did. I'm supportive of. I probably identify and feel protective about gays in general because, I find them to be in general more sensitive than straight people are, especially gay men. I think they're much more open to ideas. They're much more willing to be sensitive to explore the feminine side of themselves. But I also feel the persecution in society, and so I sympathize with that and I feel protective of them.
But then he says his next thing that I just want to play for you.
I'm going to ask you probably a dumb question, but bear with me because I'm a man, and I think men are rather insensitive on things like that. Am I reading too much into it in thinking that in mothering them, you might even be a little broody at times yourself? For children, want children?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, it's not a dumb question then. I thought it might be an offensive one.
No, I mean, the thing is, I've mothered people throughout my life and in my career. Obviously, I have an instinct for mothering. What I've done right now is turned it on the people that I work with. But I would like to have my own child that doesn't, disappear when the tour's over with.
Why does she have a transatlantic accent?
Okay, so we got to back up. We got to address a lot of things.
She sounds like Katharine Hepburn. What's wrong? What's going on?
She does do this thing for a period of time. And I have to say, as a kid, I thought she was maybe British.
I did for a long time. I was like, she lived on the moon.
She took on a lot. She has taken on and will continue to take on a lot of personalities and a lot of voices and a lot of things in the performance art of the concept of Madonna. He asks her, every word you have said, sir, is offensive. Everything about what you're doing here is offensive. Yes.
I mean, but honestly, that's better than what he could have said, which is, you're a disgusting whore. Who will ever have children with you? Which is the subtext of this question all the time. That's really what he's asking, which is, you are so unorthodox and I cannot envision you as a mother. Do you envision yourself as a mother?
Exactly.
And I'll also say, the sex panic around moms is so funny to me. How do you think you got here? Everybody's acting as if they're shocked anytime a sexual woman, especially a vocal woman about sex, ends up having kids. It's so puritanical. It's so childish. But it is this push-pull that I think a lot of white people are engaged in, certainly Catholics are, which is, you have to do this, but not in this way. So you need to be a sexual object as a white woman, certainly, and as a straight white woman to your husband. You're supposed to do whatever he wants. The problem is she's doing what she wants, and she's doing it in public.
Yeah, exactly. She's doing it in public.
With a British accent also, which again, offends me more than anything else that's happening here.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I've played you a lot of clips so far that definitely espouse arguments from one side of a culture war, which she's being confronted with. And after the break, we're going to hear from her interact with somebody who actually aligns with her in this. And you actually get to hear Madonna, I think, in a way that you don't really get to hear her be, which is just open. Welcome back to Big Lives. Today, we're talking about Madonna with our special guest, Sachiko. And so let me just set the scene for this next interview. It's 1994, and this interview takes place in a Paris hotel room. Well, more specifically, it happens on a bed in a Paris hotel room, which is this signature thing that the interviewer, the person who's interviewing Madonna, does. And this is a person named Ruby Wax. Do either of you know who this is? Do you have any relationship to Ruby Wax at all?
This sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Ruby Wax, for me, as a kid, was sort of my first exposure to, like, Americans on a regular basis because she was this American interviewer and presenter living in the UK who had sort of fashioned, like, this niche for herself as this very sort of flamboyant interviewer.
Got it.
And she was, like, super brash and, like, self-deprecating and all those things. And this technique totally works on Madonna, although the whole time as this interview starts, you can sort of meet Madonna being like, wait, you're talking like this and there are cameras around? Like, has this started, the thing we're doing? And it basically starts with both of them, like, just like on a bed and Madonna giving tips to Ruby about how to look good on camera.
Look into the light. That's your light.
It'd be very difficult interviewing.
Keep your chin up.
All right.
All right.
And now ready for my first question?
You never want to get a Shelley Winters thing happening.
I have a Shelley Winters thing happening.
Never keep your chin down.
All right, so is this good for me?
That's good. Zoom in close. Let me see it. Zoom in close.
She's good. Where was she? I've
Zoom
been
in.
working
Okay,
7
don't come in closer than that.
No closer.
And keep your chin up.
I can't talk to you like this.
Yes,
All right.
you can.
All
Everyone
right.
does.
So we'll just speak here casually like this. Everybody does?
Yes,
Is that
let's
what
be
you
very
said?
casual.
Let
Funny
go,
lady
really.
in
I'd be
my
so
old age.
happy if we just got one really lousy angle and I'd say,
No!
"Now that's funny. That's comedy. It's true, it's comedy.
All right.
And you can have a much longer career because
Can I be funny and pretty?
nobody's ever done it.
That's not true.
Who?
Lucille Ball was pretty.
Yeah, for how long? 15
Couple of
minutes. Yeah, right. Anyway, you don't have to be pretty. You're talented. You really
Okay,
are.
fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a very different kind of interview than the other ones that we've listened to, if you can already tell. It's not like a male patriarch kind of fearing moral panic, like, interrogation of Madonna. It's just like two kind of funny women chatting together. And it's interesting because Ruby does ask some of the same questions, but she just asks them in a completely different way. So, like, Ruby asks her the question that everyone else asks about Madonna maybe wanting to be a mother or whatever. But this time it's not like, how can you be a sex symbol and a mother? It's kind of different.
I know you want to have kids, but you have to really kiss goodbye to that stomach.
You do?
Seriously, kiss it goodbye.
won't.
Because it's flat now and it's hard now. I'm laughing. I already picture the stretch marks will be on your socks.
Excellent.
You really have to give glamour the heave. I mean, that's where you let go of all dignity.
All right.
I think maybe that'll be what kicks
That'll
you.
be the push.
That'll be the push that pushes you out of the
Yeah.
right lighting.
All right.
Once you're pregnant and the ankles are the size of your thighs.
That's something to look forward to.
Do you really want kids?
Yeah,
You really do.
definitely. I wish all three of them were sitting on the bed with us right now.
I was going to do that. I was going to give you my youngest daughter because I thought you could give her a better life.
I
Get her
couldn't
teeth-
breastfeed her though.
No.
And yeah, so like, yeah, this interview is like so different from some of the other ones that we've heard. And part of it, as you said, Sachi, is like we're hearing from like just two women, frankly. But also, I don't know, this interview is happening at a time where like we're moving into this era pre-Sex and the City, where we're talking more about women and their bodies and sex. And we're also really in like the third wave of feminism here. I mean, you have pro-sex feminists like Camille Paglia who are like viewing Madonna as like, literally, I think she says, quote, finally a real feminist, right? Like somebody teaching young women that you can be fully female and sexual while exercising like full control basically over your life. And that's what's undergirding this interview that now today seems, you know, not commonplace, but it seems like very much of the discourse that we're used to. But at the time it was like such a big deal. I'm just going to play you this next clip of Ruby Wax kind of continuing down this path and just talking with Madonna about sex.
Do you know how to, and one thing I just have to ask you is when you fake an orgasm.
I never have.
You've never faked an
I
orgasm?
have never. I'm not getting out of the bed until he makes me come.
Really?
That's right.
That's amazing. And you tell him this is what you have to do? See, I'm too embarrassed. I hand him
No.
booklets.
You do not.
I swear to you, I can't say.
Well, your husband must be watching this
Well,
right
now he
now.
knows.
Can he learn a lesson?
He knows because, I've trained him.
Because you've told him on TV in front of thousands of people.
I never told him on TV. He already knows what. But I'm talking about, like, for
He knows
other
what you
people,
like.
I could never tell them. So you don't just fake it and go, oh, I'd just rather eat a pizza.
No.
Really?
No.
God, you're much more sexual than I am.
I don't think that I'm more sexual. Maybe I just feel more comfortable saying it.
I remember that clip.
You remember
I have
this
heard
clip?
That. I haven't seen this for sure, but I've heard it somewhere. But that's like kind of revolutionary. I mean, like the thing too is like they kept making Madonna be interviewed by men.
Yes.
And part of that is because like white men were and still for some reason are everywhere despite my best efforts, but also like proliferating music journalism. So those were the guys who are the late night hosts, the magazine interviewers, the radio guys, like that's who's going to talk to her. But of course they are speaking to her like they all sound like Attenborough being like, and now in the wild we have found this
who enjoys sex.
Yeah, like, and don't approach her too fast; she'll bite. Like, it's really othering, and this is a very like in conversation between like two weird bitches, which I obviously appreciate. And it's not really for anybody else. Kind of, it's for the girls and the gays,
which is new, right? Like this is, what did you say? This is 94 or something like that. Like that now we understand, right? Like there is plenty of for us by us media that reaches a mass audience. That was not a thing in 1994, and so to be able to have a space where two women are talking honestly about sex, and even going back to that first clip when they're talking about her become a mother, like I built into the way they're talking about it is a presumption that we want to look good. What of it? Like it's the fact that they're joking about the way pregnancy will change Madonna's sexy body, built into that is an assumption that it's okay. She wants her sexy body, which is not how she's talked to it by any of these men before that.
And I just want to play you this other bit of it because Ruby Wax does an actually very intimate thing, which is she starts going through Madonna's handbag to see what's in it.
I mean, this is a hit podcast today, by the way.
Yeah. That is a great idea, and that is all I ever want to do with anybody famous is just be like, "What's in your pocket? Can I have it?"
Well, here's what's in Madonna's pocket. Here, I'll play it for you.
What else is in my purse?
Wait.
Oh, wait. Oh.
Is this seriously what you carry in your purse?
Actually, I always carry an extra pair of panties. I think my
Are these your panties?
Yeah, they're crotchless.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Can we just show this? Because I think, where's the crotch? There's got to be a crotch. Otherwise, how do you know where to put it on? There's got to be. How do you know where
it's right here. See?
So you don't have to take them off to go to the loo, which I think is a convenient thing.
It is. Especially when you have garter belts on, because then it's hard to take your underpants off when you have garter belts.
Because I wear garter belts so much. That's nice. And this is a kind of another gel for which beauty area?
Dry lips.
Dry lips. Yeah, look at us. You can hardly tell us apart. Ouch! I'll get out of my light, will you? All right, look. Exact replicas.
Whose lips are more moist, mine or hers?
And which area?
Yes, Ruby Wax.
That's the stuff.
Yes, Ruby Wax.
Exactly. Like, it makes all the other discourse around her just sound so, I don't know.
I know. Everyone was like, they're like mad because she's humping the stage. She's out here wearing crotchless underwear, being like, come take a bite. Like, who cares? We live free.
But I guess, I don't know. I'm curious, Sachi, like, having heard all of this and revisiting Madonna with us, like, obviously we're listening to this and we're sort of like, oh my gosh, it's kind of wild to think. But I do feel like in a lot of ways we're in a similar place right now.
Do you guys believe in astrology?
Yes.
Sort of.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Great. Well, I was thinking about this. We're in a placement right now that hasn't happened since the mid-'80s, and everyone's sort of talking about how the things that happened then are starting to happen again, economically, socially, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure points that feel very Reagan-esque. Mm-hmm. I think we are in for repetition. I think generally as a society, we repeat in order to not remember. Mm-hmm. I think we don't want to actually adjudicate our failures as a collective because that's painful. And so instead we just do it again. And I think we're in for like another cycle of Madonna sex panic. And it's going to be in this like different shade now because she's older. And so it isn't like the young, impish girl from wherever who is about to like fuck things up because she doesn't care. Now it is like the experienced woman with an interesting amount of power and a lot of agency and money, which is, you know, the biggest piece of it all. And she still doesn't fucking care. But I think the response is going to be kind of similar, which is like big success. People really like it. They run after it. I think you're already seeing it. Madonna's like front row at all of the fashion shows now. She's doing these big interviews again. She's talking about doing blow in a bathroom.
I mean, she did a Grindr takeover for her like album launch.
Yeah,
at 67.
exactly. She's going back to the well a little bit where she was and engaging in it in sort of a similar way. And I think the panic is going to resurge. I mean, like, we are in a new phase of purity politics. We see it with, like, younger people all the time. Apparently, no one's having sex. That's unfortunate for them. It might not be Madonna's going to get arrested for simulating sex at a concert because we are, to some degree, we are over some of these things. But I do think there will be, I don't know, Trump is going to say something about her, and I will have to finish this rocket ship that I am building to leave because I can't do that. I cannot do that.
It's interesting. I mean, because here's the thing also, what we haven't said in all of this, obviously we're here to talk about her impact in the culture. This woman has made a lot of music and a lot of hits. Like, P.S. throughout all of this, like all of those albums in the 80s, that run of albums in the late 90s, these have been big, big successful albums. But now, to hear what you're saying, Sachi, I'm like, setting aside the music, like, we need Madonna in the culture right now. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, we need that spirit of like, fuck you, I got on crotchless panties. And
that record too, I remember a lot of the discourse back then being like, oh my God, she's so old. I can't believe she's not wearing pants. Well, guess what? She got older and she's not wearing pants. So like thinking about how like when the Hung Up music video came out and there was legitimate discourse being like, she's too old to be doing this. Oh, old girl is almost 70. And she's still doing it.
Here.
Yeah.
I'll take some non-racist controversy for once. Like, let's mix it up.
Give it time.
Mix it up.
Give it time.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Sachi. This was a treat.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
So, Kai, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge we've done 20 episodes.
20 conversations like this.
It's been such a fantastic journey. But we're going to be taking a break a little bit. If you consider this sort of like the end of our first season, essentially.
We put a period on it, and the thing that people keep telling me about this show, Emmanuel, is just that it's been nice to hear us find our way to being empathetic in public for people, as we kind of get to know these figures and these people that we've talked through, that it's an act of public empathy in some ways. I don't know, man. I hate to get all highbrow and sentimental about it, but
hey, what are we doing here?
It's been fun, but it's also reminded me of all these stories and all of these ways in which people just like, whether you're rich and famous or you're just like me and you got to find your way. People just got to find their way through life and be honest about it. And honesty is the thing that'll get you through. That's been a through line of a lot of our stories. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been great to have these conversations with you.
Yeah, it really, really has. And what we ask is that in the meantime, as we sort of take this break and figure out what's next, but you keep actually sharing episodes with your friends and writing us reviews. I know that sounds so corny and so tired, but I'm going to say the thing that every podcast host says when they ask you to do this, which is, it really works.
Is.
So tell a friend and keep listening.
Keep listening, keep sharing, and we'll talk to you again.
Big Lives is a production of BBC Studios and Pushkin Industries. It's hosted by me, Emmanuel Dzotsi, and Kai Wright. Our team over at BBC Studios includes producer Emma Reverell, archive producer Samira Chowdhury, sound design by Melvin Rickaby, and our executive producer is James Robinson. Our production coordinator is Galen Davis Connolly. Our apprentice is Amy Woods, and our production manager is Mabel Finnegan Wright. The team over at Pushkin Industries includes executive producer Costanza Gallardo, producer Daphne Chen, our legal advisor is Jake Flanagan, and our marketing team includes Morgan Ratner and Jordan McMillan.